Okay, so you're welcome along to the football show. Now, I should explain how we've got here. If you're watching, you'll see John Meyler, Cork manager, of course, for 2 years with us, amongst other things, on your screen. This is still the football show. Basically, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking to his son, David, who you all know, and in passing, he was talking about Jurgen Klopp, and he mentioned that Jurgen Klopp, when he had bumped into him, asked him how his father was, and we were wondering, how does he know who John Meyler is? And it turns out the short version, I think, John, is that David at a charity auction for you bought effectively a day where you get to be Jurgen Klopp's number 2 at a charity match. I think it was against Celtic. And well, we thought, pandemic or no pandemic, that's too good a story not to follow up on. So we've invited you on. That is about the gist, is it? That David, charity auction, and
David goes to the assistant. Yeah, David goes to the James Milner Charity Foundation every few years. And he goes with Jordan Henderson and the wives and all that. So they all go to Manchester to raise money for James's foundation. And about 4 years ago, he bought us 2 tickets for the Augusta Masters, and this was incredible. So we went to the Masters in 2015. So that was super. So I said to David, thank you very much. The next time Milner is having a dinner, get us something, or. So this came up for auction as an assistant to Klopp in James Milner versus Stilian Petrov charity game in Celtic to raise money again for James's foundation, but also Stilian Petrov's foundation. So it was to be assistant manager for Klopp for the day. So it was an incredible price. So David bought it. I don't know what he paid for it, but he said, I think I would appreciate it. And it was a superb present, really, like, you know what I mean? So we don't give each other's formal presents as such for birthdays or that, but like it was a brilliant opportunity, and he saw that.
Amazing. Can I take a tangent there for a second? Did Augusta and the Masters live up to expectations? You're a golf fan, I know.
Joe, no, he only got one day at the Masters, and that was the Saturday at the Masters, and 3 days in a hotel in North Carolina, and then we were ferried out to the, corporate hospitality one day in the Masters on the Saturday, and we followed Tiger and Rory McIlroy for the Saturday, and we still had one more day in Carolina, and I said to my wife, look, we're not coming back again, and we get 2 tickets for tomorrow's Sunday, the final day, and I said, they'll be expensive, and they were expensive, 2 tickets, corporate hospitality. But look, Joe, you don't get an opportunity to go to the Masters every year, and it was incredible. Followed Tiger for 2 days. It was incredible, and it was brilliant. And you know what I mean. So that's where David comes up with these little presents every now and then, and they're super, really,
They're real bucket list, once in a lifetime things that wouldn't have been possible even for a generation or 2 ago. Travel and all these things are suddenly possible. Yeah. So I mean, it's on my bucket list to do the Masters. We know all the holes. We know what the course looks like. Yeah. How did it match up to what you were expecting or what you'd seen on TV?
I don't think you can see the course, Joe, from the TV. It's so hilly. The greens are undulating. It's an incredible course that you cannot see unless you're actually physically walking the course. And some of the holes are incredible, and it was fun. And then look, I'm mad about Tiger, and just to follow Tiger around for the day, it was super, and I'll never forget it. But it's the undulation, it's the hills, it's the greens, you know what I mean, and the greens are so fast for putting and that. So look, it's just. Look, I've chalked it off, really. That's gotten on my bucket list. So, look, thanks to David for sending us there. And my mum or my wife really appreciated that as well, So it was incredible few days.
Oh, yeah. No, that is amazing.
Corporate hospitality as well. So, you know what I mean? Everything was looked after. You were ferried around. So there was no need for any worry about taxis or hotels or anything like that. So it was brilliant.
Yes, stress-free. Well, I'll tell you how I knew you were a golf fan, and it's purely from on the sideline. I could always spot the Adidas golf trousers on for when you were in your Cork T-shirt, and you always had these Adidas. I knew those golf trousers from.
I know look, David had a deal with Adidas going back a good few years, and he got me a few pairs. I absolutely hate tracksuits, and I just cannot wear tracksuits and tracksuit bottoms. They're terrible. I absolutely hate them. So I had those Adidas pants, and you know they're quite nice. They're comfortable on the sideline, and as a manager, you can't wear shorts. Come on, like, you know,
No, it's true.
They won't allow me to wear shorts.
John Mahon John Mahon with his legs can, but nobody else can.
Yeah.
But
I like better legs than Mahon.
Well, they were your signature look. So, right, generous son, dad, you get to be Jurgen Klopp's assistant. So, I mean, for you, this works on a whole host of levels, not least because of your management background, and you get to see this guy working. Are you a Liverpool fan as well, John?
I would have been a Leeds United fan way back in the '65 Cup final, and you know where I was originally from Wexford, so we had the BBC over there. So we got all the soccer, and we got the cup final then, and I was a Leeds United fan. But I kind of veered towards Liverpool later on. But you know, I'd have an interest in Leeds and then Liverpool, and then you know what I mean. David was over in Liverpool Academy a few times, you know, as a young fella, so he got, you know, tied up with the Liverpool thing. So, but I'd have an interest in Liverpool, but I'd have more of an interest in Leeds United from old, you know what I mean? And because he's friendly now with a few of the Liverpool players, I'd have a graw for them, you know, and that's really it, you know.
Yeah. So it's at Celtic Park, this game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in Celtic Park 2 years ago, and so again he went to the dinner, and he thought that, you know, being Klopp's assistant for the day, and so we went over on the Saturday. Game was on the Sunday, so we booked into a hotel in Glasgow, and then again we all met on the Saturday evening in the hotel. Now Klopp wasn't there on Saturday night because there was a testimonial match in Dortmund for somebody, and you know what I mean, he told me that on the Sunday that he had flown in on the Sunday morning, but it was about 70,000 people there. But on the Saturday night, you know, we met inside in the hotel. A few people like Milner was there now, and a few more were there, so that was enjoyable as well on the Saturday night. So Sunday then we were ferried out to Celtic Park about 11:30, 12 o'clock, and to meet up with everybody, and we were bussed out again. You know, it was easy to get there really, and so bussed out, and we went up then for a pre-match meal about 12:30, and we met a lot of the players, and that was where I was introduced to Klopp really, you know. And you know, suddenly you see 6'3" German guy with glasses, a big tall guy, so his presence automatically, Joe, has a power, has a charisma about him. And you know, it's meeting a guy like that. He stands up straight, 6'3", huge presence, huge aura about him, and then we just started off talking, you know, about everything really. And you know, first thing we were talking about was, you know, he was interested in my hurling background, and he was aware of the hurling, and he knew about hurling, and he had a fascination with it, a huge interest in it, and the speed of it and all of that. And I was more interested in Liverpool and the soccer than him. So the two of us were kind of asking each other questions about our different sports, you know.
Fantastic. I mean, what a great thing to be able to sit there and chat with Jurgen Klopp about whatever. Because I mean, I wasn't sure if this was a prize. You know, you might get 5 minutes with him, and you know, but you get to sit there and have lunch and pick his brain.
No, but you know, we had the pre-match about 12:30, so we had 2.5 hours to go. And when the pre-match was over, we went down to the dressing rooms at 1 o'clock. So all of the players were hanging around the dressing rooms, but myself and Jurgen were in a, I don't know what you would call it, your room, basically it, where we were changing. And so we started off talking about, you know, analysis and statistics and, you know, GPS, all of that, and, you know, the high performance. And I was more and more interested in that, about how he was measuring Liverpool. And, you know, because I'd heard from David about going back before in the Premiership about, you know, Monday morning they were looking at GPS, how much did the guy run? And it wasn't much different with Klopp. So we were talking about the GPS, we were talking about the work rate, we were talking about discipline, all of that, and the speed of the game, and you know, so it was fascinating from that point of view, and the number of people that he had working in terms of high performance in Liverpool. So you know, he had a lot of people working for him in that area, so he had instant access to information straight away, you know.
And were there any insights in that whole area that you got from him?
It's just the number and the quality and what he was looking for. You know what I mean? And you know, that German culture has an attention to detail as well. So, you know, that was positive as well, that you picked up from him about attention to detail and the culture of that as well. You know what I mean? So, you know, it was fascinating ins and outs of it. But he was questioning me on hurling. He was questioning me on the tactics of hurling. So he was trying to find out about things like that, whereas I was trying to, you know, question him about the tactics of Liverpool. And you know, I said, you're probably playing 2 at the back and you know, 6 in midfield and 2 up front, and that's your kind of formation really. There's no one marking anybody, you know, as such, like Andy Robertson and Trent Alexander. They're nearly 2 wingers really, as distinct from 2 full backs. So, you know, and I said to him about, you know, the emphasis that we had on the time about the 2 wing forwards for Cork, Danny Carney, Luke Mead, that they were working up and down the channels. You know what I mean? So it's much the same tactics on what you're looking for. You're looking for honesty, work rate, and all of those. You know, so a huge insight to that as well. You know.
Yeah. Geez, what a great thing. And I presume he's a bit of crack as well. I mean, the big teeth and the smile and the warmth.
Yeah, we did good crack. Just something else I brought up with him as well. Like, and I said, by the way, Jurgen, how many Liverpool players have you playing for you? And I think there was one, like, was Trent Alexander-Arnold. Like, Jordan is from Sunderland. But, you know, I said to him that I have 35 players in the Cork team. They're all from Cork. So you've only one Liverpool. I think it's one Liverpool player. You know what I mean? So you have a huge advantage. And I said, if I want a centre forward or a full forward, I can't go buy him. I have to generate somebody from within the underage structure, the under 21s or whatever. And, you know, he was questioning me then, how do you do that? And I said, well, you have to nurture talent as much as you have to nurture talent through the academy. So there's a different emphasis. If he needs somebody, he just goes and buys him. Whereas I said, I can't buy him. And even if I like somebody in Waterford or Tipperary, I said, I can't take him. You know, so there are different cultures there of managers and that, you know what I mean, of bringing through your own players from the academy, you know, which is what we're doing here in Cork. But, you know, Liverpool will go out and buy a player for 20, 30, 40, 50 million, like Van Dijk or Addison. So, you know, but one of the funniest things, Joe, was that there was supposed to be gear involved. There was supposed to be tracksuits. There was supposed to be runners and that. And so I had turned up in my normal clothes, and Jurgen said to me, John, he says, where's your tracksuit? And I don't have a tracksuit. And so there was a young fella in and out helping. And Jurgen said to me, he said, go and get John a tracksuit. So he went out. 5 minutes there, he comes back in with a bright red, blood red, you know, Cork hurling tracksuit, we call it. You know what I mean? So he put it on. So I had black shoes on, and he says, you know, you cannot go out with a pair of black shoes on. And I said, is there boots or whatever? So he said the young fella out for a pair of white, to get a pair of runners for me. So a young fella came back, no runners, nothing. And so he said, I have a pair of runners here in the box. So he opens up a brand new pair of New Balance runners, gives them to me, and I said, Jurgen, they're white. I can't go out on a GA pitch with white runners on because I look terrible, you know. So I know how you feel, he said. So look, there was great crack there with that. And you know, when then we left the you know, we went up to the dressing room at 2:00 and we met all the players. So you had Jamie Redknapp, McAteer, Callum Best was there, you know, Jolyon Lescott, Micah Richards, Joe Hart. And you know, a few tremendous characters, you know, and I noticed as well, a lot of them were all strapped up. And, you know, Jurgen had said to me, look, he said, I'm tired because I was in Germany last night. So you take over. And but the team was more or less picked, I think, before I got there. But you know, that guys were saying to me, Redknapp said to me, he said, I'm only playing half an hour. And I said, you know, why aren't you playing longer than that? His knees are at him. The same with McAteer, Micah Richards. You know, they just wanted to play. So, you know, we had a squad of about 20. But the one thing that amazed me was their touch was still there. Redknapp and those, their touch was still there. They were still able to play. They were still able to move the ball, control. And, you know, on the other side, then you had Shea Given, Robbie Keane, Stoichkov, you know, Petrov, you know, some household names really, like, so, you know, 20,000 people there. But it was Ashley Young, Agbon Lahore, those. So it was competitive and, you know, good. but you're kind of jizzing up the dressing room as well. So we jizzed up the dressing room. And
so what does that mean? You smashed a hurl on the table and started getting in Redmond's face? Is that what that means?
There was no hurlies there. I just went around, introduced myself as David Meyler's dad, so they all knew David and didn't know me, you know what I mean? But
sure.
Look, you know, it was brilliant. And just to see, you know, what I also noted as well, like Joe Hart, like you kind of don't see these guys on telly, Joe, when you look at them on the telly, and then you stand up close to them. They're huge guys. They are huge guys. They're 15, 16 stone, and they're athletic. Like, you know, like Jolyon Lescott was there now. Joe Hart, as I said, big guy. You know, and it was nice to meet Callum Best as well, like, because, you know, I would have watched his father playing when, you know, way back in the 60s and 70s with Man United. But look, it was just really, really enjoyable. And then the game as well, it was 3-3, so a bit of excitement, and, you know, so and Klopp let them manage, you know what I mean? So,
did they get a bit competitive? Did the old competitive juices come out then?
It was competitive, don't worry. You know what I mean? It was a good competitive match. Like, but no, Ashley Young and like Van Lahore were more or less still playing at the time. But like, what fascinated me was about their touch was still there, their movement was still there. Like Robbie Keane was, you know what I mean? They were trying. Don't worry. You know what I mean? But, you know, again, McAteer and Redknapp were, you were seeing, carrying the injuries of years. Like, you know what I mean? They were often half time. Then the dressing room was a ball of ice, really. Like, you know, because you had ice everywhere. And Joe Hart came to me and said, "I want to play centre forward." You know what I mean? But we had another goalie, so I was looking at it. It was brilliant. And, you know, Brendan Rodgers was the manager for the Celtic Legends, and I had met Brendan before in Hull at the Hull versus Liverpool match. So it was really, really enjoyable. And, you know, the post match reception then afterwards upstairs, and to meet them all afterwards just for a drink and a meal. So look, it was just a lovely present from David. I really appreciate those kind of things, the Masters and that now. So I'm waiting on the next one, Joe, you know.
He's got to keep getting bigger and bigger and better.
I know, but you appreciate those things, Joe.
Sure.
You know, like,
well, they're experiences as opposed to, you know, whatever.
Yeah, but then to meet, you know, those guys inside in the dressing room, and you know, what they've done in terms of their sport in the Premiership, and to meet Klopp, and, you know, just to be around him for, you know, and his aura, his presence, look, you know what I mean? It's an incredible guy, you know.
Because I'm sure you must come across over the years in hurling people with great auras and great presence, and yet it's still noticeable that you're saying Klopp still had something, an extra bit special about him. I mean, it's sometimes hard to know, and we can be projecting onto these people as if they're special because we've seen them from afar, and celebrity is so big and everything. But it is interesting that you have seen lots of very well-known people and very impressive people, and yet you still thought there was something definitely a bit noticeable about him.
You know, when you go into a room and a 6'3" German stands in front of you, and he's straight up, and, you know what I mean? I've watched him on the television, and this is the first time I ever met a guy.
Yeah.
But like I've come across, there are other guys, like, you know, I go back to 1977 when Liam Griffin trained us doing a Wexford senior football. Griffin has that aura about him when he stands in front of you. When he stands in front of you in the dressing room. I had Gerald McCarthy with the Bars, and you know, Father Canon Michael O'Brien as well with Corky. Just, you know, people have an aura about them. When they stand there, you listen, or they take the whole room. And the that ability, there's great leadership qualities in that, and Klopp has it. Liam Griffin has it, and, you know what I mean. You when he opens his mouth, that you listen to, and you take it in. So there are great people there, and, you know, Cody is the same as well, and, you know, a Tower on the sideline as well. So much like Klopp. You know what I mean? Older now, but, you know what I mean? But presence, when he says something that sticks, that's it. And people appreciate that. And you know that, and you've been there. And we've all come across people like that really brilliant people, you know.
We have. And it's hard to put your finger on what they have, but it's unmistakable.
It's presence. You know, I mean, like when I met, as I said to you there, when I met Klopp, when I met Griffin, way back, I know Griffin a long time, and, you know, we have great role models in the GA, and Mick O'Dwyer, you know, and I met him through Kerry hurling when Kerry footballers would be on after the Kerry hurlers. like, you know, they have a presence, Joe, that just fills the room, and you listen, and that is that ability. And you know, like Klopp, and it was looking at him really, Joe, as well, like with the likes of Mo Salah, Mane, those, trying to keep all those. As David often said to me, he said, Dad, you'd never manage these guys because they've all egos. And you know, you're trying to massage probably 20, 30 egos inside the dressing room, which is difficult. And huge egos, huge talents, you know what I mean? And here's this guy doing it. And look, it's super guy. And even then, to look at the older guys that day in the testimonial match, like Robbie Keane and those, like, and try managing all of those, like, incredible guys. And you know what I mean? I'd love to have managed. I'd love to have managed for a year in the Premiership or something like that. You know what I mean? It would be, you know, brilliant, like to have a professional setup, professional everything, and you know what I mean. And the closest I got, we'll say, was, you know, the Munster Championship, where you're playing a match, you know, Saturday, and you're going from one to the other, really, and that's about as close as you get. And you're going to manage all that, manage the environment, manage the players, manage the whole thing. So, you know, but a tremendous experience, you know.
The thing which always jumped out at me regarding Klopp from afar, and this is true of his Dortmund days right through to really from the moment he pitched up in Liverpool, and it's continued to the present day, is the sense of warmth he has with the players. I mean, the hugs he gives them, the smiles, the rapport he manages to build with them initially and then maintain. And even like someone like Steven Gerrard now says he wishes he had one season with Klopp. He said, just being around him, you feel better about yourself. And that doesn't happen by accident. Klopp has this ability to do that.
But some managers can get that. And that's about trust, Joe, that you know, they become your father, really. And Klopp has become the father of all of those there. And then he has driven that within them, but he has Jordan there as well, who's the captain, who's showing great leadership abilities and qualities, and Jordan is driving that on. And Griffin, you know, when I started off, you know, my first time at Wexford District and that, like, Griffin was there, and he has that. I trusted him as much as I trusted my own father and mother. And you know, when I went to the bars, would say, like Gerald McCarthy and Charlie and Roche and that, much the same. And you trust them with your life, and you will give everything for them. But Klopp has that warmth about him, and he's able to get it out. Even if you watch afterwards, sometimes I just grimace, like when he's wrapping himself around the players afterwards, like, because, you know, there's one or two fellas that will stay away from you, you know what I mean? But he has that warmth about him and an openness, and there's a trust then. And that's a huge thing to be able to build. And you know what I mean? Good managers have that trust in their players, and their players really, really respect them. And it's difficult to get, Joe. It's difficult to get from everyone, because there's 11 fellas playing, but there's 11 fellas not playing. And you know what I mean? They're the guys that are giving out then as well. So getting the balance in the squad, you know, I'd love to have had that with a professional squad. And you know, as I said to you about the Munster Championship, there are 4 games in more or less 4 Sundays. You know, there's 15 playing like nearly every week. And then there's guys sitting there, they're not playing, and they're getting edgy, and they're giving out about you as the manager. And you know what I mean? It's getting a balance right in all of those things. But Klopp seems to have done it. But he's more or less putting out the same team all the time, you know?
Yeah. Because actually it's funny, we had Ronan O'Gara on recently, who's at La Rochelle now. And we were chatting about management, and he was saying at the moment, one of the things he's wondering is, you know, if you've got a couple of unhappy bad eggs maybe somewhere in the squad, what do you do with them? Do you cut them out and ignore them and keep them at arm's length, or do you try and wrap them in close and give them even more time and really try and cajole them and win them back? And I said, what's the answer? And he laughed and said, I'm not sure yet.
Well, you have to find them fairly quickly, Joe. You know what I mean? Because like, you can't leave them. You can't leave them in the dressing room. You can't leave them fester. So, you know what I mean? You either give them game time, or you're going to have to manage the situation better. And sometimes, you know what I mean, it's best to either get rid of them, or else, you know, give them game time, and then, you know. So it's a difficult thing. And
it is, yeah.
You know, when you're playing week in, week out, and you know, when you're in England, you're playing probably 40, 50 games a year. You're never going to keep everybody happy, and you're going to have injuries. So it's important then to be able to rotate and get fellas in. But if the guys are delivering, like if Salah, Mane and Firmino and up front are delivering constantly, then, you as a manager have a case. But like if they're not delivering, then you can, you know what I mean? And I always said that to David, don't ever go and knock on the manager's door. Because, if you knock on the manager's door, he can say, well, you know what I mean? You didn't score last week, or you didn't score, in 2 weeks and whatever. So you really, really, if you that are festering in the dressing room, you have to approach it really and manage the situation and address the situation before it gets out of hand.
Yeah.
Or else remove them,
now that you say it, it's probably one of the more impressive things about what Klopp has done, in that for 99% of Liverpool games, we can all pick the starting 10. Maybe there's a change in midfield sometimes, but basically there's such consistency to that team now. And yet there's no talk of discord behind the scenes. It all seems like a happy family. And that's
there's no talk of discord out front, but behind them, I'm sure there are fellas, really, really wanting to have a go. But, when you look then at continuity, and, Klopp will have to introduce one or two new players in there. He's done that with Alisson. He's done that with Van Dijk. Really, really settled in and strengthened the team. But then you need the characters inside in the dressing room. And, I think that's where Jordan is coming, and people really don't see that, he has that leadership ability, that leadership quality that Roy Keane would have had in Man United, that I'd say the Man United players were afraid their life of Keane. So you need to get players on side with you as a manager, and you know what I mean. This is what I'm trying to do, and there are going to be one or two that are going to be constantly giving out, but it's easy to address those at times.
Yes. So to round off our chat, the two important points are: one, Jurgen Klopp lived up to what you kind of hoped he would be, and secondly, you got free gear.
I got free gear. No, Joe, I got from my son, gave me, and his mother gave us two wonderful presents of the Masters and a day with Klopp, and a day at Celtic Park, and the whole experience of it, like that. I've been to Croke Park, but it's different. Jesus, Joe, I'd love to have managed in the Premiership, or I'm still good enough if anybody wants me, but Look, it was an incredible experience, and to meet Klopp was just brilliant. It's just a pity that I can't get over to Liverpool and go to the games. But he has asked. David has met him once or twice, so he has asked about how I'm getting on. So,
I know, yeah. Well, that was how it came up. Is that David was making the point that he bumped into Klopp a long time after this game, and Klopp was, "How's your father?" And so.
Yeah. Good managers know each other, Joe.
Is that right? Yeah. He picked your brain. He's learned that. That's what drove. That's what got them over the line this year.
Yeah. No, but look, it's great, and we exchange. You know what I mean? It's great. When you meet other hurling managers as well, and I was on the Sunday game recently with John Kiley. So that you exchange ideas, you exchange experiences and things like that. So that's an important part of the game as well.
And would you like to get back in at inter-county level, or is that TBC?
No, look, Joe, there's so much up in the air at the moment. There's so much up in the air at the moment that we'll see how it goes next year. And never say never. Look, I'm still young, doing a bit of cycling and things like that. And look, I'm enjoying it, and that's it. Never say never, Joe. There's always the phone. Someone will ring.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks a million for telling us about that, John. Much appreciated.
Great stuff, Joe. Thank you.